there's something that you said. You were, and you say you still are amazed at how quickly a lie loses its power in the face of truth.
Yeah. It's all my life in North Korea, I was brainwashed to believe that Americans were cold-blooded reptiles. They were these monsters that were trying to torture, rape our women. And I was in fear when I was living in North Korea. I was literally sometimes, some nights I was going to bed, I was in fear that what if Americans come and invade us and kill our children and torture us, right? That kind of brainwashing, all my life I believed that. And when I came to America, the very first day at the airport, at the Houston airport, that lie just vanished. When I looked at this man in his hoodies eating some chips at the airport with a big gigantic smile, I was like, this is not some cold-blooded reptiles. You know, these are people with humanity, with compassion. And that's the thing, like when people are afraid, like what are you going to do with the 25 million people in North Korea who are completely brainwashed to believe that Americans are evil? You don't need to worry about that. They come see this, or just a picture of an American supermarket. They are not going to believe anything that regime told them. So I think we should not fear the lies. And I think truth has so much power, and we need to fight for truth, because when society loses truth, it becomes like North Korea. And when there is a truth, is there, I think that's how we can have hope.
I admire you so much for so many reasons. One of the chapters in your book is the terror of cancel culture, and you've experienced what it is like to be canceled. Samsung canceled you because of your views on China. You've done videos and that are extraordinarily popular, and yet you've been shadow banned. You've been the object of the cancel culture in America, but yet you persist. Give us some sense of how we can do that as well. How we can stand for truth no matter the cost.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that was not even a begin what I gone through. Actually, recently, I don't know if you have seen how the New York Times and Washington Post wrote a hit piece on me. I did not understand how Washington Post could be a mouthpiece for the North Korean regime. They interviewed all these people who were supporting North Korean regime, the state, and they made them to criticize me and saying the things that the North Korean regime says about me. That how American media is so utterly hopeless that they became the mouthpiece for the North Korean dictatorship. That's how bad we've gone to in this path. But I think this is where it came to me when I came to America. A lot of people who read about North Korea, they were fascinated. And the question they were asking me was, so why there is no revolution in North Korea? Like, are they all dumb? Like, why do they not fight to be free? And that really made me think, because we got to a point in North Korea that we don't know even we are slaves. Like, and if you don't know you're a slave, how do you fight to be free? And that is the beginning of cancel culture. What I worry about cancel culture is not just being canceled. They eventually cancel you to the point they don't even know how to criticize. They don't even know how to fight back. The first step of cancel culture is, of course, eliminating your voice and your perspective in the public. But second step is people don't hear these alternative views. Eventually, they don't even know what oppression is. They don't even know what slavery is. When you get to that point, you are completely helpless like North Koreans, because you don't know that you are oppressed. And I think that's why the intention of the cancel culture is not just eliminating somebody's voice and destroying their livelihood, but they eventually want to get rid of that entire perspective and view, so people don't know even how to fight back. And that is something called the dictatorship of the mind that North Korea uses and the Nazi used. It's like there are two types of dictatorships in the world. And one, people understand the physical dictatorship. There's no freedom of movement, right? There's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom to marry other people. Like there's so many physically you cannot do. But in a true dictatorship, there's two different types. That is called emotional dictatorship. that you are not even free to think. You don't even know how to think. And that dictatorship minds only come from this kind of indoctrination at schools. That we don't know even this is a brainwashing. There's so many kids at Columbia don't know that's an indoctrination. They say, oh, math is racist. They believe that. They don't know that's a brainwashing. And then they come out in the society later, they're gonna believe, they don't think that they were brainwashed. And that's a real danger in that, when they don't understand how they're indoctrinated at school.
I want to start to bring this podcast to a close, although I could talk to you for forever. But I don't want to leave this podcast without you talking about your mother and maybe your sister as well. But one of the things that really struck me about your book is you say that your mother to this day is the happiest person I know. And there's a context here, because when you were trafficked in China, your mother took a rape for you.
Yeah.
Your mother endured some of the most grotesque circumstances anyone could imagine. And yet, you say, my mother to this day is the happiest person I know. And there's a quote in your book by your mother where she says, when I was asked what happiness is, I asked God, and he told me that happiness is essentially synonymous with gratitude. You and your mother, and I imagine your sister as well, your older sister, you're living lives of gratitude. Talk about how happiness can equate to gratitude. And that's an important principle for all of us to understand and know. You can be grateful for the little things in life.
Yeah, as for example, is that one day I went to South Korea to see my family, and my mom would be like literally laughing, so happy laughter coming out of her. I was like, what's so funny? Why are you laughing? It's like, do you hear this refrigerator running right now? That sound of refrigerator running. That she live in a country where she's so abundant that she has a refrigerator that is running with electricity. That makes her that happy. And in North Korea, I remember when we get to see electric light in our light bulb once, we would be all standing and clapping for it because it was such a biggest joy in our lives. And I think that's what she taught me later years, that, like she prayed and she asked God for happiness. Like, how can I be happy, God? Like, give me happiness. And he said, learn gratitude. And people somehow think in America understand happiness is like getting everything that you want. Getting all the nice houses, all the things, everything you want, then you can be happy. But happiness is just learning gratitude. Gratitude to even be alive today. There are so many people fight for one more day to be alive, to one more day to breathe on earth. And even that fact, if you cannot be grateful for, how can you ever be happy? So that's why I try to teach my son, like every day, before we eat, we pray, obviously, and for the things that we are just grateful to be alive. We are grateful to just have each other, have this, a burger in front of us, everything that we have. And if you start life from there, in the place of gratitude, life can be so beautiful. It's not as terrible, miserable. And when you look at this leftist in their eyes, they are actually suffering. They're so brainwashed to the point that they think the world is falling apart. Everything is going against them. And this is like, I feel compassion for these people. Somebody did that to them, right? They told them this alarmist view, somehow the paranoia they fear, that everything is against them, everything is horrible, everything is so bad. They're in this state of urgent paranoia. And that is a place not you want to be. And there's so much good and beauty in life. I hope, as an activist myself, people say, how do you not get depressed? You're fighting for talking about rape and slavery, concentration all day long. But I'm in general a very happy person. I laugh a lot because there's so much other things that is in the world that we need to focusing on too.
Yeah, another famous quote that you have in your book, and I think it's a good place to start ending this podcast is hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men then produce hard times.
Yeah. I mean, this is the one that Joe Rogan told me when I was being interviewed on his podcast. And I thought that was a very insightful quote, that because our founding fathers and the generation of the world wars created good times for us, they were the strong rock that built this nation out of that devastating world wars, that we lost so many people, and they created this amazing, vibrant country in free market system where individuals have never had this much of abundance, that nobody in America, most of people never had to worry about finding next meal. And with that much opportunity and abundance that given to us, all that we learned is complaining and being bitterness. So now we are creating hard time for the next generations to come, that our national border is not secure. We lost identity as a nation. We don't even know who we are as anymore, right? And I think that's why I feel bad for the next generation. That's why I really want to do my portion, so I can be proud to my son that you should carry on this fight. And hopefully they're going to create a better future, and people are going to be understanding the world will be better than we did.
Well, Yeonmi Park, you are amazing. You are interesting. You're informative. And I will tell you, you are absolutely inspirational, which is really the mission statement for our podcast. So you fit it to a T, and you're an incredible writer. Both books. I mean, this book, I started on a trip from Dallas. By the time I landed in Charlotte, I had finished the book. It is gripping. It is gripping. It is an absolute must read. Again, you can get it on the web at equip.org. You can write us at P.O. Box 8500, Charlotte, North Carolina, zip code 28271. Your book, While Time Remains, is another one of those books that I didn't read once or twice. I read 3 times. It's an important book, and I urge everyone to get this book. Again, go to the web at equip.org. It's the easy way, or simply write me at Post Office Box 8500, Charlotte, North Carolina, zip code 28271. I hope we have another chance to do this sometime. I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you today, and I know that you have informed a lot of people about very crucial issues. I mean, quintessential issues for our culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a real honor, sir.
And again, I don't know if you were as blessed as I was by this podcast. It's the evidence of what reading can do. As we talked about during the podcast, Yeonmi Park had little or no education before she escaped from North Korea to China, experienced sexual slavery there, crossed a frozen Gobi Desert into Mongolia, gets transported to South Korea, and then starts her education, and has become such a source of wisdom on a multiple variety of levels. So she's an inspiration, and particularly with respect to what we do at the Christian Research Institute, we are so committed to reading, to memorizing, to learning not narratives, but how to think. Because as Yeonmi Park said, when you learn to think, then you quickly understand the difference between the truth and error, between that which is false and that which stands up to scrutiny, which of course is precisely what the Christian worldview does. It is based on history and evidence. It is not a blind leap into a dark chasm. It is faith founded on irrefutable fact. Well, I could go on, but simply want to end this podcast by saying that please rate and review the podcast. It really helps a lot. So if you enjoy the podcast, rate and review, it is an incredible benefit as this podcast reaches more and more people on a worldwide basis. Well, thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Hank Unplugged podcast. Look forward to seeing you next time with more.